The Raptors lose their 32nd game of the season to Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Scotty Barnes struggles in this one offensively. Let's go to the film room. The Raptors managed to keep this one close thanks in part to 30 points off of the bench by Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown, and they all punched in different ways. Bruce as a cutter off ball, working off of advantages that Scottie Barnes and RJ Barrett would create, and Kelly Olynyk being a guy who can make passes, create for others as well, cutting into open space and Scottie finding him in that dunker spot. Always thought that would be a great connection, and it really showed off tonight as well. Bruce also making his corner threes in tonight's game, and I thought that was huge to keep the Raptors within striking distance in the second quarter. Beautiful zip pass here by RJ to Bruce in the same corner. And again, as he hits these shots, obviously he is on the trading block. This is an important aspect of it because teams are going to want him to be able to hit these shots and knock them down frequently. He did so tonight. And this was really the best Kelly Olynyk game since he returned from injury. I thought he had his best shooting game. And so when he's spacing the floor like this, he's such a dangerous component to the Raptors offense. And I thought he really brought them back into this game in the third quarter because he stretched out the Bucks defense. And so the combination of Kelly and Bruce ignited the Raptors off of the bench in a lot of ways in that second and third quarter to keep them within this one. Was it a good game overall from everybody else? No, I thought it was a really poor defensive game. I thought there wasn't tons of execution. And obviously, the Raptors star player, Scottie Barnes, struggled offensively. He was 4 of 16 on the night. Let's break that down as well. So Scottie obviously struggled from 3 tonight. That was a major part of his offensive woes, but he also just wasn't able to get to his mid-range shots at all, and those weren't falling. And I think the question I have for him moving forward is when these type of shots, the ones that have looked great over the last month or so, the mid-range looks, the turnaround faders, all that type of stuff, especially next to the length of the Bucks, you know, shooting over the contested arms of Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis or Giannis Antetokounmpo. What kind of counter do you have to that? And what are the counters you're trying to develop when that mid-range shot isn't going? Because you don't want to become too over-reliant on one aspect of the game. And so you want to figure out how you can cut more, how you can be able to work off of the ball more, how you're able to be utilized as a screener and passer. You know, he had 10 assists tonight. I thought the playmaking aspect, he really excelled at. You know, a couple of those passes were to Bruce Brown that I just showed you. It was just the scoring element wasn't there from Scottie, and that really, it forced the Raptors offense to struggle. So the question you have for Scottie moving forward is, all right, cool. So that mid-range area isn't there for you anymore. You're not able to get to those shots at will, or maybe they're throwing out size at you in a major way. And I've talked about how that area, once he gets a lot of attention, he'll be able to make plays out of it. Well, we saw that tonight. 10 assists. Like that part, check. Objective completed. But you also have to be able to put pressure on the defense with your scoring ability. And unfortunately, I don't think Scottie did that much. The three-point struggles is a huge part of it. I believe he was 0 of 6 tonight from 3. Sampson had a tweet that mentioned, you know, he's 27% since he had that incredible stretch to start last year. And last year, he obviously became an all-star, thanks in part to that three-point shooting. So you got to wonder, like, who is the real Scottie Barnes as a three-point shooter? I don't think he's 27% bad. I also don't think he's 37% good. So what is the happy medium that gets involved here? Like, do we end up at a 35% shooter, 34% career shooter, something along those lines? And by the way, that's good enough given every other aspect of the court that Scottie Barnes excels at. And I think that's something that I want to see him, realize or actualize in games more often. When the jumper isn't going, when the scoring element isn't there, to lean in on the other aspects, to be more dominant defensively, to be like, hey, you know what, the offense isn't going for me tonight. I'm just going to lock down and try to be as impactful as I possibly can on the defensive end. Okay, the scoring isn't going, but I'm still going to find ways to manipulate the defense with my passing or with the connections or being a really great screener on the ball and creating advantages through that. So it's about finding different ways to impact the game. Scottie has so many different skill sets and things that he can do on any given night that sometimes it feels like some of them go untouched. And so you want him to be as well-rounded as possible because that's going to be the best version of him. Speaking of like well-rounded, I thought RJ Barrett had a really, really well-rounded game. It wasn't the greatest offensive game for the Raptors. It wasn't a great defensive game either. They stuck with it. I thought it showed you, they had their kind of like fake comeback in that fourth quarter where they cut it to 10 points. They were scrappy. They were in it. Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown, like I mentioned, provide some really good bench minutes for them. But I think overall, RJ was kind of steering the ship tonight for them. It was the passing, it was the playmaking, and yes, it was that rim pressure that he provided as well. Let's go to the film room for that. The connection in the pick and roll is always a potent one. This is a really nice pass to Kelly O, where it's just a dump off, reads the help, and a beautiful pass to Olynyk for the dunk. Good connection with Jakob Poeltl as always, screen and rescreen situation, even a Grady screen involved in there, and a nice dump off pass to Jakob. But I'd love to see some more of this. Scotty being involved as the screener and rolling to the basket with RJ. I really think that could be a deadly combination if they lean on that more, because, RJ just commands so much attention at the rim that he could create a lot of easy opportunities for Scotty on put downs and kind of like easy stuff in the dunker spot area, and Scotty off of 2 feet jumping into the air. Either you're getting a foul call there or you're finishing at the basket. So I actually would like for them to tap into that more. I'm a big fan of Scotty as a screener. I think he can get better as a screener, initiating contact, actually setting and laying guys out. But I think there is a lot of work there to be done to kind of develop him more on the off-ball side so he can enhance the games of others when that scoring ability on ball isn't there. And so that's the game, folks. Scotty struggled. RJ did well. The Raptors defense continues to struggle. And this is part of something that I'm writing right now for Raptors Republic. You can read it on the website, hopefully in the next couple of days. But the Raptors defense is failing them. And I think part of it is just overall strategy. Again, you can read the whole piece, but the gist of it is that like they've harped so much on point of attack and on-ball defense. And yet, other than Davion Mitchell, Ochai Agbaji, at times Jamal Shed, we don't really see too much good on-ball defense. We don't. And so because they play so aggressively on ball, and they ask that of all of their players, you see Scotty pressing up on ball. You see RJ pressing up on ball. You see Grady pressing up on ball. Those guys need a level of distance, especially against guards, because they're slower footed. So, and even when Jakob gets switched out onto a guy, he's pressuring, he's kind of pressuring the ball, and it's like, you need to create that level of distance because you can compensate for it with your length. And so I think the Raptors are kind of hustling backwards here defensively because they can play a little bit more of a conservative style on ball, funneling players into help, sending players into the rim protection of Jakob Poeltl or the help of Scotty Barnes, using their off-ball length. Because I think RJ isn't that bad of a defender using his length in passing lanes. He's not that great off ball in terms of awareness and where he needs to go. And if a guy back cuts, all that type of stuff, that's not something that he's necessarily good at. I think Grady also in certain elements can use his length defensively. And so you're leaning on those strengths more than their ability to like stay with the ball mano a mano. I just think the Raptors really struggle in that department, and their personnel is not built to be like that. Again, you can go ahead and read the piece on Raptors Republic in the next couple of days. Hopefully it's out in the next couple of days. I go more in depth into this. I give more examples. I kind of relate it to a team that plays a similar style of defense but succeeds at a much, much higher level. And you can see what the issue is with the Toronto Raptors and their defense. And you saw it tonight as well. Obviously, you're playing Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. Those are really good freaking players. Like, two guys who are on the All-NBA 75, whatever, greatest players list, rightfully so, going to be Hall of Famers, just incredible ballers, right? All-star level guys, one guy's an MVP level guy. They're just really hard to stop. And so, yeah, benefit of the doubt there, young team, trying to figure things out. I thought Jonathan Mobo was cool in his minutes. I would like to see more minutes for Jonathan Mobo. Shout out to Jonathan Mobo wearing a headband, by the way. Pretty cool. pretty cool. I'm down. Switch it up. Why not? See what's good. But overall, I thought tonight was a good example of like what Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown can provide to other teams, truthfully. And obviously we're headed towards the trade deadline, and so you start to think about like where those pieces might fall. I thought, Pull Up Trade, their podcast, to kind of break down where some of these guys might go. I've done a piece on Raptors Republic that you can check with a couple of hypothetical trades and whatnot. And you start to think, where would Kelly go? Where would Bruce go? Maybe Boucher, maybe Davion. What could be even had for these situations? Is it second round picks? Are you nabbing a first round pick? Are you trying to go for players? The Raptors have been more incentivized to take on players than picks as of late. And I think part of that is because they want to bring in players and develop them and maybe give them a shot versus prospects that might be a little bit down the road. Who knows? I think that's probably part of the process. But that being said, I'm curious to see how these next couple of weeks work rotation-wise for the minutes for these guys, because they're clearly being showcased. Bruce is clearly playing tons of minutes because they are showcasing him to the world to get traded. Same thing for Kelly Olynyk, same thing for Chris Boucher, and honestly, potentially maybe same thing for Davion Mitchell now that he's back in the lineup. I know Emmanuel Quickley has been injured, but it does feel like those guys are kind of being showcased right now to see if there's any suitors for them. So we'll see what happens, because I think that will open up opportunities for the Jacoby Walters of the world, the Jonathan Mobos of the world, and whatnot. Jameson Battle. Maybe there's some guys that they trade for that they want to incorporate into their rotation as well. And that's the gist for this game. I will say they now have 40 games remaining. 40 games remaining in their season. 21 of their 40 games are against teams below 500. They play the Wizards 4 times, the Bulls twice, the Hornets twice, the Jazz 3 times. And, tonight was a, whatever you want to call it. I know there's people who are anti-tank. I'm not saying that the Raptors are actively trying to lose games, but this is the reality of where they're at. If you're looking at the backwards standings, the Raptors picked up a pretty important tank win, if you will, because the Hornets won tonight and the Pelicans won tonight. And the Nets are down by 6 as I'm recording this thing, so maybe they pull out a win too. But Raptors are in a position to seemingly be a top 6 team lottery odds-wise, trying to crack top 5, top 3. We'll see what happens. But that's just the reality of the situation they're in, that they're having a losing season. It's not going to come at the cost of trying to develop guys and wins, but that realistically is where we're at with this Raptors season. And I am curious to see how much they lean into this tank as we go into the next little bit there. And I just realized I just have a bunch of money. What the hell? Anyways, like a little gift. Cool. I think it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing for this next little bit. How they prioritize development is maybe a better way to put it here, because they're going to be playing some competition that is also trying to lose. Not also. I probably shouldn't say also, but that is not prioritizing winning. The Wizards right now, 6 wins this season. Not a very good basketball team. The Pelicans are playing better. They've got Zion. Maybe they have their intentions somewhere else, and maybe they're trying to make a run for it or whatnot. But the Jazz and the Hornets, sort of in the same boat as the Raptors right now. And so I'm very curious to see what happens there, how those games shake out, and what the Raptors do to position themselves. So we'll see what happens, folks. We'll see what happens. Either way, thank you very much for tapping into Raptors Republic. Appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. We do great work here, as always. Listen to the podcast that we got on here. They're super duper dope, as always. And we'll see you guys for the next game, folks. Peace out.